kind of solutions can we come up against to, how can we shut this business down? That's the first one.
Speak to some of it, but I know it's not. I don't have all the answers to that. So that's something we've got to get together and really figure out. But recently, there's some things that I've caught my interest as possible ways that we can start fighting it. So one thing is Hakeem Jeffries just put in a bill that would require a residency requirement for NYPD. So I think we should get behind that. But to me, a cop that has to live here has to have a different kind of accountability to the community, and I could just see him behaving in a different manner than if he's coming from, like, you know, where they come from now. Another thing is starting cop watches in our neighborhood. So getting people to have a camera, getting groups of 5 or 6, get the training, and just do cop watches in our neighborhood to make sure that people, that the police are held accountable. We can have a documentation when they do things that, you know, we feel like, you know, that they shouldn't be doing, or that we know are evil, that we at least can have the documentation and try to do things to that effect. You know, that's one thing we could do. Another thing, I guess, is joining our tenant patrols, creating alternatives to policing, being that figure of authority in our neighborhood that people can come to, that is not an officer and that is not going at things confrontational. That you will be seeing, if someone comes to me and tells me, look, I'm having a dispute, I'm gonna attack the situation. I hate even using the word attack the situation, but I'm gonna come at the situation on a de-escalating point of view, where I know from personal experience, a lot of officers are not coming at a situation with de-escalation nowhere in their mind. So I mean, that's just stepping up, trying to start patrols in our neighborhood, becoming people of authority in our neighborhood, and with a de-escalation mentality going about it, and supporting laws like that, like the residency requirements and stuff. And I don't know if anybody else has anything else, but
I just want to make one more quick point. We live in a society right now where kids glamorize going to prison.
definitely.
And when I was growing up, Scared Straight scared me right. Because one look at that program was a real good perspective of what I didn't want to allow my life to get into. Now, I think we have to take some responsibilities ourselves. And it's great to say what we need to do, but sometimes we don't do what we need to do in our own communities. What you just spoke of was very effective. But what I would like to see is brothers who may have served time come into various communities and get these gangbangers who want to be gangsters and have a one-to-one relationship with them and start to talk with them and see where their heads are coming from, because we can utilize all of these gangbangers in a great way, but I think it's going to take some empowerment from the cats who have been behind the wall, who know what that life is about, to kind of inform them, because like the brother was saying a little earlier, serving a month or 2 months, 30 days, to them it's nothing. But at the end of the day, their voting rights is automatically stripped down. And everything else goes down the pike as well, not to mention trying to get a job. So it would be wonderful, and I'm just putting this out there, maybe we can have a forum on this at some point. What are the brothers who have served time? Because, you know, once you get behind the wall, the light comes on, and you understand how you can change your life. What about changing the lives of those so it can prevent them from getting behind the wall, and hopefully, as another small idea, I think shutting down the system that we have, because they're building more prisons than they're building schools. And the bad part about it, we're allowing them to put, sometimes, I mean, I understand that, you know, policing and brutality go hand in hand in our communities, but sometimes we're not helping them. We're not helping ourselves. We're helping them do their jobs.
Yeah.
Just want to add, a forum like tonight, replicating this in every neighborhood would help. This issue has been too marginalized. You raise this issue and you become the crazy person in the room, because people have become to accept this. This is the norm. You know, you do bad things, you go to jail. That's the way it is. And nobody's looking at the broad picture of what you just talked about, that young person that sees, okay, McDonald's, because of my education, ain't afforded me much more than that, or drug dealing. Hey, my role model in the neighborhood is Bubba over there, who's been to jail. He's cool to me. Because a lot of us aren't going back into the neighborhood. There's this divide in the neighborhood. And having forums like tonight to get people to start thinking about, what this industrial complex is doing to our neighborhoods, what it's doing to our youth, and finding a way to close the divide and mentoring each other, organizing with each other. And there's lots of forums where there's police precinct councils in every neighborhood that if you go there's maybe 10 people there from the community, and that's where the decisions are made on how they're going to police the neighborhoods. And a lot of times, those 10 people are the people who are most afraid and saying, bring more police. We need to have a discussion about policing ourselves, creating the criteria of how our neighborhoods are going to be policed, and also having a real discussion with the kids that are out there in the streets.
Yeah. Okay.
Question in reference to that?
No, I was going to speak on it. So,
okay.
what's your deal?
No, go ahead.
I think one of the things that we've forgotten that for some of us in here that's past 50 and we look over and we see the teenagers of today, we have to go back and we have to think about when we were a child. You have adults now that's in their 50s doing the same thing as the young ones across the street are doing. We have the parents doing the same thing with their children. So we got to go back and we got to regroup and we got to think about how we're going to say things to them. I see how some of the adults talk to the kids, and I'm like, God, how do you expect them to do better? You cannot, it's like saying to the folks, okay, voter suppression. Well, we're doing that to the kids. We're not allowing them to speak. We're not allowing them to have a real voice or a conversation. The parents are exhausted when they get home. They can't hear. So why can't we talk about grooming them from daycare centers to after-school programs, giving them a warm belly to go home and get into bed and lie down to? When the parents come home and they give them a sandwich. Let's talk about how we're going to grow the kids up and have the police to come in and have discussion with them, so that they can not have the fear that's into their minds about the police, so that we can grow out of fear. We got to do something about the kids that's growing up. They got to get the fear there and thinking that the cops are bad, or we can do this, or we can go to Big Bubba and get $10 when we don't have any food to put on the table. So you have to remember now, they live in the neighborhood with Big Bubba. So when they can't pay the rent, or they don't have food to put on the table, where are they going to get it from? Either the loan shark or Big Bubba. Who's closer?